Welcome back. You're still watching Tonight, and you're having a conversation with three members of Parliament, Karoli Omondi, Gadhano Mushomba, and Babu Owino. We're talking about different issues we've already covered, where they find themselves in, and as well as we're now talking about the alleged corruption in Parliament, or should I say undisputed now, because I think everyone agrees that it's going on. I'll come back to you, but Mushomba Omondi, at least you were at the parliamentary group meeting. You were invited?
Yes, I was there.
Good. And you were there during that session when the president accused all of you of corruption. Then I saw you speak in Parliament and saying that it's like everyone has been thrown under the bus. Why were members of Parliament so angry with those sentiments of the president?
I think it was the wholesome nature of the condemnation and the way it was being repeated. Because you remember, it was first mentioned, I think, at a meeting with the private sector at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Then there was a second mention.
In Homa Bay.
In Homa Bay. Then there was a third mention. And it looked like everybody was being put in the same basket and being painted with the same color and brush. Yet the president, you know, as I've always said, is the number one consumer of intelligence. So what he says must be taken seriously and in that context. And when many members now were asking, if he has the intelligence that a member of parliament went and collected 10 million shillings on behalf of other members, the proper thing would have been either to report to parliament under the Powers and Privileges Act so that that member is disciplined, or to make a report to DCI for that member to account and for the due process to be followed. And then there was also the talk of Sokohuru in the Senate.
Yep.
Those, if there are senators who received money on the impeachment of the governor of Isiolo, and there's evidence, that the same pathway should have been followed in dealing with those members, instead of, because it is not very helpful. It's not helpful for the head of state to condemn the national parliament. It made news all over the world. All over the world. So you can imagine if you travel as a member of parliament from Kenya, people look at you with that kind of prism. Yeah, and it was quite unfortunate. I think we will get, I'm happy the sentiments have not been repeated again. And I hope members of parliament will find a way of getting around it. We don't, I mean, if there are those of us who are engaging in illicit activities, for heaven's sake, let us call them out. And then also, members were very angry because, you see, the Auditor General's reports that reveal a lot of this malfeasance in the executive, when brought to parliament, is not openly discussed. Let us be frank here. The political, you know how our parties operate. Yeah, the dominant parties come to bear on the members as to how those reports should be handled. And even in some instances where Parliament has clearly adopted those reports and made recommendations on what is supposed to be done by other branches within the executive, like ESCC and DCI, you still find interference, again, from the executive.
How do they do it?
Members... I don't think, you know, I was involved in the creation of the first anti-corruption authority. Actually, I was supposed to be Justice Ringera's PA after Mwao. He offered me that job, but I went to ERB. And I understand, you see, what happens is there's interference either at an investigation level, and that is why most of the cases fail. And that is an executive function. Investigation is an executive function. Right. Or there's interference, between completion of investigation and charging of suspects. I mean, have you forgotten there's a governor who was to be charged and who, because of the handshake, was not charged, and he went to a rally somewhere in Awendo and he said, I thank the president for the handshake. At least I was supposed to be charged, now I've not been charged. You have forgotten.
So, who was that?
I don't want to mention, I don't like mentioning names.
Yeah.
I like to remain factual.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at the records, you'll find some governor who said that, former governor now. But there's interference. There's no doubt about it. So members of parliament, I think, rightly so felt offended, especially those who are hardworking, who don't engage in this malfeasance, and who are just focused in doing their work. And who, honestly, some also felt very bad, because there are a lot of members who, like when I engaged with the president, and they brought the finance bill. Do you know I brought 18 amendments to the finance bill? 17 passed. You can ask them. Because that's the power I have as a member. I went to the village, they told me they didn't like all those issues she was raising, sanitary towels, whatnot. I did my barazas in the wards. I came to Nairobi. I proposed 18 amendments to the finance bill.
For 2024 or 2023?
2024. Yes.
But isn't it the same bill?
No. The one that the president refused to sign. 23-24.
Because I remember
yes.
At that time, the vote was reject from the Azimio side and the IFO.
No, as Azimio first said,
yeah,
make amendments to it.
Yes.
When it got very hot, Babu will confirm to you, they said, we had amendments proposed by John Mbadi, who was our minority leader. Yeah. We had amendments proposed by Junet. We had amendments proposed by Wandai. Yeah? Mbadi was TJ Kajwang, yes, had amendments. But I brought 18 amendments, and 17 passed of those amendments.
So let me take you back to the conversation you were saying that when you have Auditor General's reports coming to the House, there's how the dominant parties process or whip members. Explain to us exactly how that happens.
You see, in Parliament, I'll give you an example. The committees are not property of political parties. Parliamentary committees are not supposed to be property of political parties, but they've been made so. Parliamentary committees are property of the House, and in fact, members are supposed to apply. There's something called liaison committee, which is supposed to place us in committees depending on our skill sets, experience, years of service, and the rest. But that's not how it works. So the first control our parties have over members is the whip decides which committee to put you. So if you're not very compliant, because the standing orders say you must be put at least in one committee, they'll throw you somewhere. My good friend, Dr. Tienda Molo, went for 5 years without being in a committee, with the skills that he has. He didn't for 5 years.
Which parliament?
The first one. He never served in a committee.
Of parliament?
Yes. Otiende, even this current parliament, Otiende could have chaired he could have been a very able chairman of a committee. But they could not propose him.
Why?
And eventually I encouraged him. I told him, you run even if you are going to lose. He went and ran. He got 6 votes. He was voted for by members of the opposing party. All members of his party voted the other way. And he lost by 3 votes. Yes.
Why?
Yes. Because either members of parliament or the party leadership don't understand parliamentary processes. Yeah. Committees of parliament don't belong to political parties. That is why today Atandi can chair a budget committee.
What are you saying?
Because if they belong to political parties, you would not be able to chair it. These are things that are supposed to be done in the House. So the first thing, the parliamentary parties, they gag the members. Yes. Do you see, I was elected to chair a Constitutional Oversight Committee by members. It does not belong to ODM. And when we go back, as I've always warned, there'll be a ruckus about it. Yeah? And I warned my members, you want me to be elected, you want to elect me. Fair enough. Yeah? I will present myself. And they elected me unopposed. But already, they are saying, but that committee is not supposed to be chaired by him. So there are many things we don't understand, even as members of parliament, that the political parties take advantage of to control parliament. So if a bad report comes there and the government doesn't want to be embarrassed, the first thing they'll do is at the leadership level to try and cut a deal. Yeah? You know, one of the Kennedys once said politics is an exchange of favors. Yep. Yeah? There, where people trade favors. So the first thing the leadership will see, what can we extract from them in exchange of this? Then they'll put compliant people to oversee it, or guys will be given instructions, so that there's no freedom of how our members should work. But I think it will change.
What is that, cutting a deal?
Huh?
What is that?
In parliamentary processes,
Yes.
yeah, or in politics, people always exchange favors. Yeah.
What do they look like?
Favors would be, support me in this, I'll support you in this. Yeah? And I'm not talking about money exchanging hands. Maybe it does, because they say money is to politics what a baby's milk is, a mother's milk is to a baby. So I don't know, I'm just cracking a joke there. Generally, what I've seen in our parliament here, there'll be a moment when there's something that, let's say, the opposition members feel very strongly about, and they want to push it. Suddenly, your whip or the minority leader will come and say, no, twende pole pole kwa hiyo. Yes, I've seen it. Yeah. And you ask yourself, what happened here? Yeah. What is being traded here?
So, it sounds like, Mheshimiwa Mushomba, that really Parliament is not members of Parliament are not in charge of Parliament.
Precisely.
So then what? Why in Parliament?
You see, what my brother has explained as a senior member in the House, I think I can only maybe summarize and say, ideally, according to this constitution, the independence of Parliament has been drowned by other forces and powers, to the extent that a certain bill will be dropped off the tray just because the presidency is interested in a certain bill. I'm a victim in this Parliament. I carried forward a bill from previous Parliament that was talking about this, providing for the elderly persons of Kenya. A very wonderful bill. It went through the first reading, and every member of Parliament was saying, you know, this is what we need for this country. But my bill coincided with that period when we needed to pass finance bill. And my bill was dropped unanimously through the whip of majority leader of my party, so that we can remove the entry to put finance bill. In fact, I think we were 3 members of Parliament who were affected. There were 3 critical bills. Private members bill, mine, and I think there was the Honorable Arab Kipchumba. He had a very good bill. I can't remember the other one. There were 3. So you can see I have taken over 4 years, previous Parliament and 1 year in this Parliament. And all the energy that I had put in a very good bill was put to the drain just because of the interest of the presidency and the executive of a finance bill. I have had a motion to debate about issues of violations of women's rights during childbirth. A very common violation that is happening in hospitals when women are delivering their babies. Some are losing babies, others are coerced into procedures without their consent. A very good motion. It has been on the order paper for the last 1 year. 1 year. But new motions come with very serious vigor, whipped by the political party whips. My motion is overrun by a motion to impeach Rigathi Gachagua in 2 weeks. A motion that is supposed to save 156 babies that are born every hour in Kenya, to safeguard the rights of those mothers and those infants, is not important. Not because it's not important, but because the politically correct agenda of the day is not your motion. So sometimes I sit and wonder, I get very frustrated as a member of Parliament, and I wonder, what did I come to do in this Parliament? If as a woman member of Parliament, I cannot have a motion discussed concerning the women I represent.
And there's no avenue of airing these grievances?
I have asked the Speaker many times, what happened to my motion? I'm told, oh, the House Business Committee, what he is explaining, is going to discuss and slot your motion. Then in 2 days, my motion moves up. You know, we number them in priority. So if my motion was number 18, next week it might be number maybe 15, going up. But it will never get to top 3. Why? Privatization bill came and bypassed my motion. Impeachment bills came, bypassed my motion. Finance bill came, finance, and many others. So sometimes I wonder why Kenyans keep electing members of Parliament every other 5 years. I wonder. Okay. In fact, if you asked me, the radical Gathoni I am, I don't think Parliament is the right platform to advocate for people's rights anymore. If you are not the choir girl for the presidency, the choir boy for the presidency and the executive, that is why they call us rebels. If you're not that one who will be patted by the cheek, you know, the one who will be patted by the shoulders, oh, you know, Honorable Member, you're doing very well. If you're not that one, I think being in Parliament is just maybe a waste of time. But unfortunately, but that's the truth.
Babu, which committee are you in?
I'm in Budget Committee and Public Investment Committee. And
do you hold any leadership role there?
No leadership role at all in any of those, but I want to tell you that Parliament has stopped being an independent body to being a dependent body, dependent on the executive. Everything that we do, we are just but a conveyor belt. On corruption, before we move from there, I want to register my disappointment that the president himself, who came out to start fighting corruption, purportedly came out to start fighting corruption, was inviting MCAs to State House to defend corruption of Nairobi County government. So you are left wondering what is happening.
Sorry, MCAs were in State House?
MCAs, UDA MCAs went to State House.
When?
Kenya Kwanza MCAs went to State House when Sakaja was going to be impeached.
When was that? When were they at State House?
2 days ago. 2 days ago, they were in State House.
Tuesday?
At the command, yes. At the command 2 days ago, only yesterday they were not. They were there twice. They went, and then after that, they went again. Twice at the command of the party leader, who is the president, to defend corruption. Meanwhile, governors are arrested as far as Kericho, where the EACC must use the state resources to go to Kericho. While Nairobi is a graveyard of corruption, Nairobi is an empire of corruption, where EACC can just walk to the governor's office and take him to court.
Is he being investigated by EACC?
My brother, let me tell you, issues have been raised. There is no more investigation that we need. This person is protected by the president.
To be fair, Babu, and congratulations, you're now an advocate of the High Court. The EACC matter you're talking about of the governor, if it's the governor of Bomet or the former governor of Bungoma, these are files that have actually been investigated, taken to the ODPP, and matter now being processed in the courts.
I'm saying the same speed.
We are not aware.
The same speed.
Sorry, let me just finish. We're not aware of a file of investigation completed by the EACC in regards to the Nairobi governor. Are you aware of it?
You will not be aware of it because the governor is playing to the tune of the president. Therefore, anybody who befriends the president is saved from corruption. Anybody who is seen to be opposing the president is dealt with. So corruption is being
And
weaponized.
It's also important here to say that the governor, there were reports that signatures are being collected to impeach him for various grounds. We don't have the motion, so really we cannot.
Signatures were collected, MCAs talked, you aired that news, MCAs were talking.
I'm just saying, we cannot authoritatively say that the governor is corrupt. That's what I'm trying to say.
Now, I want you to take the Auditor General's report 2022-2023 and 2023-2024. You will see what is happening there. A tower of corruption. What is happening?
Why are you behind the impeachment motion?
Sorry?
Do you have any hand in the impeachment motion?
How could I be behind an impeachment motion that MCAs, over 90 MCAs, came out to sign?
Okay, I want us to transition to also talk about, because the president was in Mombasa today and he was officiating the ASK show, and he spoke about the achievements of the government for the last 3 years. I just want to take an excerpt here of what he says about the subsidized fertilizer and what it has done for the country.
Fertilizer subsidy program, we have disbursed and distributed more than 21 million bags of affordable fertilizer, saving farmers 105 billion shillings and cutting fertilizer prices by nearly 2/3. To put it in context, for every 1,000 that farmers were spending on fertilizer before, they are now spending only 330 shillings. That is the true impact of the subsidy program. This has boosted maize harvests from 44 million bags in 2022 to 67 million bags last year, reducing our maize imports by 70%. In this year's long rain season alone, farmers received nearly 7 million bags of fertilizer and 35 million kilos of certified seeds, up from 475 million bags of fertilizer last year. We are now on course for a record harvest of 70 million bags this year. In 2026, we plan to distribute 12.5 million bags of fertilizer, nearly double the amount distributed this year.
Right, the president, of course, he spoke about so many other things, including that within those 3 years, the cost of living has come down. The inflation has come down to about 4.5% for last month. Mheshimiwa Karoli Omondi, we've spoken about matters of economy with you on different platforms, rather, in this studio. But your take about the performance of the Kenya Kwanza government 3 years in, even if you're to highlight some of the things like what the president is saying there.
Okay, thank you. In fact, if you talk about the performance, the people should really congratulate CS Mvurya and his PS Elijah Mwangi for the very excellent work around Chan. And now our team, basketball team, also in Rwanda, preparation for tomorrow's match. I think, because I serve in the sports committee,
right? I
mean, that team has done wonders for this country. Anyway, on the economy, there are certain fundamentals that the government has achieved right. There's been stabilization of the exchange rate, but a lot of people are asking how. Because whether, the exports, Kenyan exports are stagnant. Foreign direct investment is very modest. So the inflows probably are just limited to remittances. And that also fluctuates. So people, it's been maintained, but people are asking questions about it. But I think it's a good thing. At least the government can claim that. The government can claim that the inflation rate came down, but it has been going up consistently the last 4 months. That is also true. And that the price of common commodities came down, but they've also been going up. There's an issue around fuel prices.
Yeah.
It's not very clear what is going on there. But those are good stories to tell. But in economics, as I've said before, 3 things matter. If you want to know that an economy is performing, it should be creating jobs. The private sector should be creating jobs. All analysts agree that the Kenyan economy is not creating enough jobs. Why is it not creating enough jobs? Because the private sector is underpowered. The government has suffocated the private sector out of the credit market. So there's no money going into the private sector for them to generate the jobs that this economy needs. So there's a problem there. The other problem is the incomes have actually gone down. They've not grown. People's incomes have actually gone down, either through the new taxation for those who are employed, right, or through a variety of other issues. And thirdly, the other issue is that the purchasing power of the shilling has also gone down. So if you ask a common person, okay, we've maintained the exchange rate here, yes, we've maintained inflation here, we have import cover of $10 billion, we have all this. That is just something that doesn't make sense to them. That is why you see Kenyans are having a problem understanding that the economy is growing, because not many jobs are being created, their incomes are stagnant or have gone down, and the power of the shilling to purchase the basic commodities have also gone down. So that is where the government should focus on. Yes, how to boost incomes. In fact, if you look at economic data of any country, right, I said it last week somewhere, the first thing that you see is income per capita. So the question we should ask, has Kenyan income per capita grown? You should ask a lady, or a man, a young man doing some biashara, do you feel better today than you were 1 year ago? And the answer will tell you whether the economy is performing or not. So that is my take on it. I think there's a lot of work we need to do here.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of structural issues that we need to do with our economy, one of which is state capture. What is killing this economy? And one of the factors undermining private sector is state capture, where decisions are made for private interest, business interest of those who are making the decisions. those in the bureaucracy instead of the public good. And one day I hope we will unbundle this.
So state capture continues. This was one of the agenda items of Kenya Kwanza in the manifesto to deal with it.
I brought a motion in Parliament to establish a committee on state capture. I think I'd invited you to be a member. Yes. And many members signed because across the board, independent members, UDA, ODM, other political parties. But the procedures of Parliament, they made sure the motion was read on the last day of the session. So it lapsed. When we came back,
you had to start afresh.
I had to start afresh, and I realized there was not enough goodwill. But this country, whether we like it or not, we have to face that ghost. One day we will have to deal with state capture of the economy. I'll give you an example. How state capture denies government of revenue. You've heard of frequencies for telecommunication. You know they're a public resource. When was the last time a frequency was auctioned so that the treasury could get money in the country? It was when Airtel was started. So where are these other G3, what are they called? Yeah? The frequencies.
3G.
3G, 4G, 5G. When were they ever auctioned by the National Treasury? Who has taken public frequencies and privatized and sold them to the telcos, worth billions and billions of shillings? Who is taking that money? We need to go into it.
What's your answer?
Yeah? That's why we need state capture inquiry. So that is just an example. I'm talking of hundreds of billions of shillings that could have gone to primary education, that could have given people, university students, bursary, could have modernized the accommodation at the University of Nairobi, and the other universities could have put medicine in people's hospitals. Hundreds of billions going to private hands.
Mushomba, the president says that through the coffee revitalization program, we distributed nearly 50,000 seedlings in 4 counties, boosting production and raising earnings from 32.8 billion shillings in 2023 to 38 billion shillings in 2024. We're on track to grow exports from 48,000 to 60,000 metric tons this year.
Whoever wrote that script should be fired.
Why?
You cannot tell us that you increased production in 1 year because you provided seedlings for coffee. Because coffee takes 2.5 years for it to yield, the first yield. So whoever wrote that script for the president should be fired with immediate effect. That is erroneous. It is not factual. However, let us give him some benefit of doubt that he meant that coffee production had improved in the previous year. Let us imagine that that is what was in his mind. You know, when the president says that he has given out subsidized fertilizer to coffee farmers, I laugh.
Yeah.
Because I'm a coffee farmer and he has never given us free subsidized fertilizers for coffee. He's given out for maize and other crops, but not for coffee. Coffee farmers bought their fertilizers at the market price for the many years. The only subsidized fertilizer that was delivered in some of the factories by the government was that adulterated fertilizer, the one that had uchafu, the one that had stones and sands and other things that I don't want to mention. Maybe people are having dinner. And the impact of that boreagushi, the impact was very expensive to most of the farmers because we had to look for lime to come and use on top of our soil so that we can reduce the acidity that was caused by that adulterated fertilizer. So some farmers were forced to spend more to correct their soils. So when the president says, oh, we have increased maize production, he may be right because probably he pumped much fertilizer in the maize zone. But he did not pump as much fertilizer in the coffee zone, and whatever he has said there is not factual. But for me to accept that there was an improved yield from maize, what is my indicator? I'm a livestock farmer. My indicator number 1 would be, has maize germ, a product that comes from maize, gone down in terms of
the price?
Has maize germ, cotton seeds, and whatever else we use for our feed manufacturing for our livestock, the raw materials that comes and depend on maize as a crop, have they gone down in terms of pricing? The indicators are also telling us that they have not. I am a farmer myself. I buy maize germ on a daily basis. And I can tell you, there is no change. So where is that maize that he's saying? The many tons, how many tons did you talk about? Those many tons he's talking about of maize.
The tons talking about 67 million bags.
Okay, so where did the maize go? Because if there was much maize in the country, it was sufficient for our domestic consumption, we should have had some little impact when it comes to some of the things that we use as indicators. Number 2 indicator. If there was a lot of maize in the country coming from the impact of subsidized fertilizer, the prices of milk itself should have gone up because farmers would have produced better quality milk and the milk offtake level price would have improved. But from where I come from in Githunguri, noting that we are one of the best in terms of milk production, farmers are still crying. In fact, let me tell you.
Isn't the price of milk better now?
No, it isn't. It is even at its worst.
How much is a litre now?
You know, the president has been saying that the price of milk has improved to 50 shillings per litre. And I wonder who feeds him with this kind of information. How much is it in Githunguri? It is still at 42. It's 41, 42 shillings per litre. The president keeps talking about 50 shillings. I don't know where he gets that figure from. So for me, subsidized fertilizer to me was a government business.
Yeah.
A project to mint money for the political class of this country. You all know what happened with the fertilizer scam. And unfortunately, from the commercial understanding that I have, subsidized fertilizer has had a negative effect on private business and private sector. Where I come from, every town has many agrovet shops. Yeah. These agrovet shops are the ones that supply farming input to the farmers, including fertilizer. When this fertilizer, ambayo subsidized, was advertised, all farmers abandoned from buying from the agrovet, and they lined up at the Kenya National Cereals Board offices to get that subsidized fertilizer. And what happened? Farmers were being conned along those lines and queues when they went for this subsidized fertilizer. Some of them were even scammed into it. So what happened to these businesses? I call it crowding out. We have crowded out the business enterprise along the line of fertilizer business. Crowding out means this commodity has been monopolized by the government to the extent that the private sector is no longer benefiting from it. So what has happened is that now when the government fertilizer is out of stock, the private business people do not have stocks. So when the government doesn't have the subsidized fertilizer in stock, hold on a minute, when the government doesn't have those fertilizers, the subsidized ones, in stock, if I want fertilizer, for example, in Githunguri, we farm all along the year.
Yes.
I can't find fertilizer in the shops because the shopkeepers are afraid I might bring my stocks and then this government fertilizer comes and then nobody is going to buy it and I will have dead stocks.
Yet, Mheshimiwa, you sit in a house that passed the subsidized fertilizer money.
Subsidies.
Yes, about 8 billion shillings.
I sat there.
You approved it, but...
I fought it. My voice was very, very faint. And for me, I have always said, I don't understand what the government is doing with subsidized fertilizer when we have devolution.
So it should be the counties?
Yeah.
Okay.
This should be a county function. Let governors raise money and look for fertilizers. They are the ones who manage coffee factories. They are the ones who manage cooperative societies. They are the ones who provide extension services. What is the national government doing with a devolved function?
Yet, Mheshimiwa...
It's somebody's business.
Who's that?
It's somebody's business. Why would you be holding on a function that you're supposed to have devolved? I went for the devolution conference in Uasin Gishu. Okay. Was it in Uasin Gishu?
Yes, the previous one was Uasin Gishu.
And the president's speech was a very powerful speech. In fact, I was very surprised when I saw some of the international posts headlining that issue of saying, I am going to be the president that is going to ensure that all the devolved functions are released to the counties. I was very happy. I was clapping. I was saying, oh, finally, this guy is going to allow us to get what we are supposed to get from counties. So what is subsidized fertilizer still doing with the national government? What is SHA and universal healthcare still doing with the national government? Why do we still have the national government talk about universal healthcare and healthcare providers? What business is this government doing?
Okay, so Mheshimiwa Owino, I don't know if you're satisfied with the 3-year performance of the government, but or also doing that, you must also introspect as a member of parliament on how well the House has done, especially on some of those things that Mheshimiwa is talking about here. Because if a vote of 8 billion shillings for subsidy fertilizer comes to the National Assembly and you approve it, the government will just implement it.
You know, Sam, the last time I heard about fertilizer was when the government packed stones and donkey poop in bags to give the farmers. Yes. And you know about it, and it was in public. However, there are 3 sectors to an economy.
Yep.
First one is the service industry that contributes 65% to the economy, and it contains the banking industry, health, and you know what is happening in health through SHA and the corruption, education, which is a service industry. You also know what is happening with capitation and also money being sent to non-existent schools, among others, the insurance. Then the manufacturing industry contributes around 16%,
right.
Manufacturing and construction. You've seen what has happened to the construction industry, where the government is now providing private goods. Some through the unaffordable houses. Why do I call it unaffordable? Because these houses were meant...
You know, the first time I thought it was a slip of the tongue.
It is unaffordable houses. Because these houses, the other day, my people were raised down by fire. Over 300 people lost their property, everything. That is the first initiative that the president would have taken to award my people these houses, because they are meant for emergency. But however, it is not the role of the government to provide a private good, but it is the work of the government to facilitate consumption of public goods like roads, so that it can open up areas for businesses and security, and also encourage the consumption of merit goods like education and health. Private good, which is a house has never been an issue of concern to any Kenyan citizen. Why? Because I've not heard a Kenyan citizen crying, or rather there will be very few, a smaller percentage, crying that for me, I lack a house, okay? But Kenyan citizen will say that I don't have food to eat. I don't have a job.
But they do complain about they don't have quality housing, Mheshimiwa.
It's not the main issue of concern, like food is, like unemployment is. If the government would give the 2 million jobs to Kenyans, Kenyans would build their own houses. If the government would, for example, come up with the idea of an electric train from Nairobi to Kisumu, from Nairobi to Mombasa, from Nairobi to Garissa, people of Garissa would be coming to Nairobi within 1 hour or so to work in Nairobi and go back to Garissa using an electric train. We need to decongest the city, because when you say that you are building houses in urban centers, you create what we call the dual economy, an economy in the rural area and economy in town. People in the rural area will start migrating from rural areas, which will make us lack. There will be a deficit of labor in the agricultural farms, and labor will be very expensive in those rural areas or any other place where agriculture is done. They will come to town, for example, Nairobi, with an intention that they will be given houses. When they reach town, they will settle in slums. So, construction of unaffordable houses contributes to sprouting of more slums. And what will happen? There are no jobs. There will be high rate level of insecurity that you are even facing right now in town. Goons are just walking all over, stabbing people, stealing from people. These are the effects of unaffordable housing. And some, if the government would desist from this issue of unaffordable houses and say that we want to use these funds to create jobs, to construct factories, to industrialize a nation where people would get jobs, then Kenyans would make so much. Kenyans would be safe. Let me come there. Hold that question first, so that I explain everything and then we come there.
Quickly.
Then another issue, Sam,
yes,
in agriculture. The president has talked about agriculture. One of the factors of production is land. We have massive land in this nation. We have rivers, we have lakes, we can do irrigation. But agriculture only contributes approximately 19% to the economy. And this agriculture that is contributing 19%, do you know that we import up to 85% of what we consume, including eggs, including chicken, including toothpick that we can manufacture here, even tissue papers. We are not even promoting our own factories. So therefore, if we are still importing, and in the same agriculture, the cost of fuel has gone high. So he's saying that fertilizer has been subsidized to reduce inflation, the cost of prices, the prices of goods and services. Then the prices of fuel went up the other day. It means that anything that is capable of being transported, including that fertilizer, will be factored in the final product that shall be produced in agriculture. Therefore, the cost of living will still go up. And that is one of the main challenges that we are experiencing. The easiest thing, you asked me a question that, am I satisfied with what the president has done? And this is the answer. The president should learn way back between the year 1929 and 1939, during the Great Depression in America, under the then President Roosevelt. That time, Americans, close to around 12,830,000 lost jobs. And the population in America then was still small. What did the president do? President Roosevelt, he contracted a person from Britain called John Maynard Keynes, who came up with something called the Keynesian theory. The Keynesian theory was so simple, that put money into the pockets of the common mwananchi so that you can spur up what Mheshimiwa Karoli was saying. You can create a spending power into the pockets of the people so that they can spend. So that mama mboga who is selling mboga, or that shopkeeper, people will go to the shop to purchase flour, for example, and many of them will go there, creating high demand for flour. Then that shopkeeper will be forced to employ more people. Just let me finish this. To employ more people so that at least they can serve all these people. Then the shopkeeper, having realized that they will not have enough stock, will rush to the factory where manufacturing of flour takes place. At the factory person will employ more people because there's more demand, and will also go back to the farm and tell the farmers that we need more supply. So demand will be high, supply will be high. That is the easiest way to build an economy.
How do you suggest the government puts money into the pockets of people?
By creation of jobs. By creation of jobs. The government promised us 2 million jobs. Creation of jobs and creating an enabling environment to do business by lowering taxes. Because if you increase taxes, you will discourage businesses. Go to these malls. I can assure you, the other day I was at TRM. I wanted to eat in one of the food courts. Out of the 8 food courts, only 1 was opened. 7 were closed. Walk in these malls, you find shops are closed. Why? Because there is a bad environment for doing business. What I've noticed that the government
I want us to wind up. Just a specific question here.
Yes.
When the affordable housing bill was in Parliament, how did you vote?
I voted no. I voted no, for the record. Why? Because I knew that this is a private good. It is not the work of the government to provide this. That money could have been used to create jobs through construction of factories. The
reason why the fuel prices are so high is that in absolute terms, the amount of tax that you pay is slightly higher than the landed cost. You sit in Parliament. What have you done to lower the cost of tax?
We told you clearly that in Parliament, the majority will have their say. The majority are dependent, not independent, dependent on the executive's decision. The minority will have their say. We, the minority, starting with the finance bill that was going to bring a problem in 2024, 2025, we voted no, a clear no. But we only had our say.
My question is specific, Mheshimiwa Wino. The fuel prices. What have you done as a member of Parliament to lower the taxes on fuel?
I will tell you clearly that in Parliament, there is nothing that you can do in Parliament so long as the Speaker is in bed with the government, so long as majority of members are in bed with government. And it is a similar question that somebody was asking me, why don't you take a bill to parliament to impeach the president? And I said, I'm not a talented time waster. You will take it for optics. And it will.
Too obviously fail.
Talented time waster. Let's take a look at the feedback so that you don't waste a lot of time.
I was waiting for you to ask me what is it that we are going to do to increase jobs.
Just hold on. Let's take a look at the feedback first on what Kenyans are saying. A Citizen TV, Kenya, Samgi took the hashtag to use the Citizen tonight. Mark, you're saying, ask Wahesh whether they think we have independent institutions. We have seen the executive going into bed with the National Assembly. What's their take? The other question, Kevogo Reina. The One Kenya movement is great. Personally, I'm already spreading to youth across Vihiga. We bought it. The problem is the leaders are becoming inaccessible. Several youth delegations with efforts of accessing them failed.
Okay.
Anonymous, kindly ask Babu when he is planning on constructing the Donholm Phase 8 roads.
Very good.
Oh, you know build roads?
I do.
Okay. Another one, Mbeche Shadrach, Kenya Moja should prioritize fighting corruption, the biggest obstacle to development. The government must also remove the punitive band 4 and 5 classifications, which are creeping education for the common Mwananchi. True change needs leadership. Alien made coffee. Who are you? All politicians should be independent. Political parties are the source of all our problems. What do you mean my representatives can be whipped? By who, other than me who voted? Okay, Alien, look at the name. Mark, again, you say, what I want to tell Honorable Wino and Honorable Mushomba, never to stop in their push for good governance until they win. This is the kind of leadership Kenyans need. Leaders who will advocate for Wanjiku. Kenya Moja movement has brilliant and smart individuals. So there are a few issues that have been raised there by the viewers. I want us to take a closing call as we respond to them, starting with Honorable Mushomba.
Thank you very much. I want to take the comment and the question about the independence of Parliament. I think we have expounded quite heavily, but it's surprising the voter is asking, how can a colleague member of Parliament be whipping you? The voters should be whipping you, isn't it? But unfortunately, that's the political environment and climate that we operate in, that in Parliament there are whips, and they are called party whips. So they whip you based on the party you came in through. So when they decide that they are going to drop a bill, for example, vote no for a bill or drop it, when a rallying call is put, they do what the party whip is doing. And unfortunately, that's how it is. Do you know who is going to bring a change? It is the Kenyan voter. Because the Kenyan voter is the same person who votes for these MPs. They know right now which MP does what. Yeah. To the benefit of the voter or to the benefit of their own selves. But unfortunately, come 2027, in fact, it's not going to be 2027, 2026 next year. Yeah. The signs of politics of the bus, politics of the plate are clear. Right now, what's happening in State House is the politics of the plate and the politics of the bus. Voters are being bundled into buses. And all they do when they go to State House, it is the plate business. They eat. They eat from the plate to the mouth, and they also eat into their pockets. So when they come back to the villages, all they're talking about it is, oh, our president, oh, two-term. And the same person who is saying two-term has no medication services in the village, has not been able to take their kids to school. Right now, I'm sure you know that the capitation money is not available for our secondary schools. Most of the secondary schools, day schools, kids are home.
The Cabinet Secretary says that institutions are supposed to verify their existence and the numbers that they have.
After some of us accosted him with a question in Parliament, who told him to remove our learners from NEMIS? Because he has been removing kids from NEMIS so that he can reduce the amount of capitation he's sending to some schools. I have evidence. I tabled it in Parliament. So I think in as much as we are trying to answer people's questions, they should understand where we are operating from. And the only people who will salvage this country By the way, the most important thing for voters is not about which president you're going to vote.
Yes.
In fact, what Kenyans should be thinking about, which quality of a member of parliament and senator are you going to vote for? Because senators and parliamentarians can actually change the presidency. We, Kenya Moja, we are advocating for the right quality of parliamentarians and senators. Because if we have a good parliament, the president has to toe the line. If we have a good parliament, he will not force us to pass bills in the favor of the executive when we are oppressing the voters.
All right. Mheshimiwa Babu, I'll finish with you, Mheshimiwa Mondi, but your take on some of those questions, and also...
I'll start with Kerogo.
Yes.
Kerogo talked about being accessible, and I will tell you that my brother, we are available. My number is everywhere. I will also share it. And this movement is for Kenyans. It's for you. This movement will ensure that you get jobs, will give you hope. This movement will ensure that you get that which you deserve from this government because you are a Kenyan.
Are you fielding a presidential candidate?
Tomorrow's problem. Today's problem is to talk about what affects the problems that affect Kenyans. Next thing.
You just said it's the answer to all the problems in the country.
It shall provide solutions to Kenyans. Just wait for it.
Okay.
The next thing is the Phase 8 road in Donholm. I want to tell the gentleman that as my constituent, in the next 1 week, I'm doing the Phase 5 first. Phase 5 and Phase 8 are just closed. Then after that, I'm going to focus on the Phase 8. Phase 8 is a county road.
How do you do that?
Phase 8 is a county road, which was supposed to be done by the county through Kura. Then unfortunately, that is one of the scandals that we are raising, together with the money that was eaten from World Bank by the county government of Nairobi, that was given 349 million to construct roads in Mathare constituency, Embakasi East, specifically in Soweto, and also in Roysambu constituency.
So this road, how do you build roads? I thought you were a legislator.
As a member of parliament, you don't just stop at legislation. You must be creative, because we know that our function is not to construct roads. We know it clearly. But when you go on the ground, members, your constituents will tell you that this is something that you must provide a solution. So therefore, you be creative enough as a member of
How do you do
parliament.
it? That's what I'm asking.
Now, that is one of the reason why I'm always ranked as the best member of parliament in Kenya. So I don't want to share it in public.
No.
It is my secret.
No, it's for the sake of accountability, because let's face it here.
Accountability, everything is in public there.
As a member
the
of
roads that we construct are not in my house. They are in the constituency.
I'm not faulting what you do.
Yes.
I just want to understand, and for the viewer to understand, because legislation, oversight, representation, there's NGCDF, you have no role in law. So where do you get the role to build roads? Sam,
that is why you need serious connection, both nationally and internationally, as a member of parliament, to work for your people. When you are elected as a leader, you will go beyond your roles. And the Bible says that when your cow falls into a ditch on a Sabbath day, do you leave it? You remove it.
Excellent.
You want us to talk about cows or donkeys? Mheshimiwa Mondi, you're closing, but also there's a question there on political parties, that they are the source of our problems.
Yes.
What shall we do? Because 2027 is not far. It's less than 2 years now.
Okay, I'll talk about those two questions and also say something on e-procurement. I think for our voters, the responsibility is in their hands. When you elect, when your aspirations are that you want a job, or you want to boost your incomes, or you want your children to have better opportunities in life than you had, and you know that is midwife through leadership, and then you elect somebody who completely has no ideas about those things, you are actually tempting God. And I don't think it is good to tempt God when God has given you the power of the vote. I want to appeal to Kenyans. Let us begin to be serious on the quality of the leaders we elect. It starts there. When you see somebody in parliament, they didn't just find their way there. Somebody went and voted for them. So if you elect the wrong person, please don't, you know the consequences that will follow. So I think we need to deal with that issue. But on political parties, I again want to appeal to people, especially Kenyans who are of voting age. We now need to focus on multiplicity of parties. multiplicity of parties, even in regions.
Yes.
I think Parliament would be more vibrant if we had more independents and people from different political parties. You know, the reason why ODM has survived is because it has never won a presidential election. It won in 2007, it was stolen, but it has never occupied. Since 1992, since multipartyism, each political party that has won the presidential election has not survived beyond 5 years.
Right.
Just have a look at them, except for KANU. Once KANU left in 2002, each presidential election has come with a new party. It is those that have remained in opposition that have survived, but they have not grown. They have shrunk. ODM in 2008 had 96 elected members out of a parliament of 210. Not anymore. In fact, today, if you do a serious analysis, you find ODM strength is south of River Nzoia, north of River Kuja. That is it's very strong, and some pockets in the coast. So I think we need to put more people in different political parties, more independent candidates, so that Parliament can work. It will be more difficult to capture Parliament either by political parties or the executive.
Right.
Finally, on e-procurement, the longer this is delayed, the worse our economy will underperform. Because the last 3 months of the financial year, not much is done in terms of procurement. The government is the biggest spender. Now we have another 3 months without government spending money in the economy. The problem here is that the circular that was issued contravened Section 77 of the Public Procurement Act, which allows both manual and electronic procurement. So the government, and then the government was late in doing the training, the government was late in doing a dry run, but those are issues that we need to work on very, very quickly. I think the government should come back, ask for an amendment of the law, and then we clear this issue. But in the meantime, they should allow manual procurement to continue.
All right.
Whether it is limited or they should find a formula. Because if this stalemate continues for another 3-4 months without government spending money in this economy, those growth rate projections they are giving will not happen.
All right, Mheshimiwa, we have to leave it at that. It's 6 minutes to midnight. Mheshimiwa Karoli Omondi from Suba South, Mheshimiwa Gadhano Mushomba from Githunguri, Mheshimiwa Babu Owino from Embakasi East. Thank you so much for making time for us to have this conversation. And once again, apologies for not having Newsgang because you need to have this important conversation. See you again some other time. Bye for now. My name is Sam Gituku. Good night for now.